How you going, people? All right, we're back. Let's try this again. Part 2. And we're going to be talking, I'm going to try to stay on topic about evidence and how cops deal with evidence and shit. So, I know from watching TV, a lot of people, am I still in this camera? I don't know if my head's still in there. I think I'm in there. Good enough. If my head's off, whatever. You can look at my shirt, whatever. Evidence. How is evidence handled? Is it really critical? Is it really... when I watched, and I talked about, I think it's Leto's Law, whatever it is. Again, don't be trying to start shit between me and this guy. This guy seems okay. I mean, I wouldn't mind. People are always like, dude, you should do a video. Y'all should do a split screen. I'm all willing to do that. I'm just not real savvy enough. So unless somebody contacts me and says, hey, dude, we can do this. We'll set it up. It'll be easy. All you need to do is... I'm all willing to cooperate. But if you expect me to figure out and research and figure out freaking Skype that I ain't used but maybe once in my life or whatever, it ain't going to happen. You're going to have to make it easy for me to do it, set it up to where I can sit behind my computer and I can click this button, download this program, and it'll do it for me. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. But I would be more than happy to sit down with lawyer Leto's Law, whatever his name is. He's got the little microphones behind him. I always know when I see all those microphones behind him, I go, what was this guy in the studio or whatever? But I got no problem debating an issue with him. If there's a big issue that we don't do it, I mean, he's an attorney. He sees it from a legal standpoint. He can give you a legal advice, kind of like court. I can give you a real world, kind of like what I've seen in court, what I believe is true, what I've seen work and not work. And I would be more than willing to discuss this topic or any topic if somebody wants to debate that on the air. I had some jerk emailing me saying, you're full of shit, you're always attacking cops, and I want to call you out. You better fucking meet me on Zoom or whatever. Here's my account. And I went, motherfucker, who are you talking to? Delete, you freaking dummy. You come at me like that, you think I'm going to waste my time talking to you? You come up in my face like that, about the only thing I'm going to waste on you is knocking your freaking teeth out. They come in here talking to me like that. Freaking punks on the internet talking shit. Anyway, I digress. I'm not saying Leto. Somebody can say, oh, Leto, Rick called you a punk. I didn't say that, you freaking troublemaking. All right, so, evidence. When I watched Leto's Law, and I didn't watch the whole video, so maybe he cleared up at the end, I don't know. Because I was just kind of like bumping through, fast forward, you know, getting to the next video. I got 15,000 tabs open on my damn computer. So I'm kind of bumping through and I see him talking about evidence. And he kind of explains like, okay, here's what's going to happen in court. I'm going to take this exhibit and I'm going to give this exhibit A and this. And did you take this? Is this your initials? And he went through this little spiel on what's going to happen in court. And I was kind of like, yeah, maybe. Okay? It depends. Could that happen like he explained it? It can. I've seen it happen a couple times, maybe not as he explained it, but look. Here's evidence in my book. The big problem with evidence is contamination, cross-contamination, and chain of custody. And that's no legal term. I didn't look up this definition to see. You may look up the definition of evidence and may say something different. I'm just telling you from kind of trying to, in a layman's term, these are the issues that I think will bite a cop in the ass. If you contaminate it, if I cross-contaminate. So when I talk about cross-contaminate, I'm talking about if I stop a car, and he's got a bag of cocaine, and I snag that bag of cocaine, and I throw it in a bag, and I throw it in my trunk. And on the way to the jail, I get a call to another call, so I don't go straight to the jail to book the evidence, and I go handle this call and send my trunk. And then on this call, I end up seizing a little heroin. So I grab this bag, and I throw it in the same bag that I threw the cocaine in, and now they're both in that bag, and now they're both in my trunk, and now I'm heading back to the office, and on the way, an officer calls for officer assist, and I cruise over there, and now I got these two evidence in the back, and now I go to this officer assist, and in this, we get in a fight, and I have to take pictures, and I end up seizing a gun or a knife off the dude I arrest, and now I throw that gun and knife in the same bag as the coke and heroin, and now I go back to the station at the end of the night, and I'm like, shit, all right, let me get my cases together. I got this report. Oh, yeah, I remember I made a note. Yeah, I took that cocaine off that dude. I got it in my bag, and I pulled my cocaine out. I go, okay, here's my cocaine. Okay, I'll put it in a separate bag. I'll date and time it. Okay, I seized it at this time. And now I'll take this cocaine, and the way Leto explained it is like there's, you know, it's kind of like TV. There's an evidence tech, and there's this chain of custody where you handle it over and everything, and I'm kind of like, Dude, I rarely handed evidence to a person. I don't know if I've even done it once. I would say on the off chance I may have done it 5 times, I don't remember, but I can't ever remember handing my evidence to a person. Just doesn't happen. They have evidence lockers, they have evidence places that you go and you either drop it through a chute, you know, there's different ways. I remember, if you remember one of my crazy cop stories, they used to have a mailbox at the jail for contraband. So when cops come in, I'm booking a guy, I search him, and I miss some marijuana, and I'm like, shit, I don't want to recharge him. I'm going in here, the guy just told me he's got marijuana, he don't want to bring it to jail because it's a felony. I don't want to deal with his bullshit marijuana. I'll throw it in this contraband locker. It's thrown in there, and then once a week they would come and they would empty all that shit and they'd destroy it. They wouldn't connect to the case, there's no nothing. So they would find cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, everything. And the thing was there, and then the crazy cop tried, somebody threw a fucking pipe bomb in there, and so it was explosive, they had to call EOD, and then they took out the box. So then we couldn't do that anymore. So now when you find it, you had to either stick it in your pocket and you throw it away, which is kinda, probably is illegal, but you know, it's kind of like, I don't want to book it, I'm not going to charge a guy with it, I'll just destroy it. Screw it. Kind of like dumping beer out. You know, a kid has beer, he's 16, he shouldn't have the beer, so you open it and you pour it out on a highway and go, you're not allowed to have that. So you waste his money, he can't drink it, you give him back the can, you go, get out of here, don't freaking be buying, I don't want to, you know, so, well, who bought it? You should do an investigation on it. Whatever. Like, yeah, people who don't freaking work where there's real crime talk some stupid shit about what you should. Well, it was a ticket, somebody get killed, tickets are important, Rick, and if somebody's speeding in the school zone, that should be a priority. Shut up, you freaking ticket writers. But anyway, so, look, so the mailbox is kind of like a evidence box. And I don't know if anybody's ever had a mailbox, but they've had boxes kind of like that. And when you stick it in there, you had to seal it with evidence tape, initial it, date it. Sometimes we had little tags that had date, case number, suspect, last name, and officer name. So we'd write that on it, we'd stick that on the outside of a plastic bag, we'd seal the plastic bag with evidence tape, initial it so nobody can take the tape off and we know that we sealed it, and then we throw it in this big locker. Because it's self-contained in its own plastic bag, the outside plastic bag is not evidence, only the material inside is evidence. So then, the next morning, the evidence text comes in from all the arrests of the night, and he's the only one with the key, so we know the chain of custody is every officer that puts something in this big mailbox, the only person that has access to that is due with the key. So the next morning, the guy takes a log, he gets his book, he comes there with the key, he goes, it's this date, and at this time I open the box. And when I open it, I removed 17 items out of the box. Item 1, gore. Case number so-and-so. 1 bag containing suspected 4 ounces of cocaine. Okay, so he writes that down. Now the chain of custody transfers from me to him, and now we can say where this stuff went to, etc. Now when he gets it, he may be the one that does the test, or he may send it out to do the test. If he sends it out to do a test, he'll stick it in a plastic bag, he'll seal it with his initials, and say, on this date, I sent this information to so-and-so labs to have the quantity, I sent 0.2 grams. If he opens it up, which they normally do, and takes a couple grams out for testing, he will cut a side of the bag, because a bag has 4 sides. Maybe they have bags with 5 or 10 sides, I don't know. A bag has 4 sides. If I put my evidence tape here across the top of the bag, he will cut the bag here and pull out the evidence. And then he'll take out 2 grams, weigh it, put it back in, and he'll seal this with evidence tape and initial it. So now we have 2 sides of evidence tape on it. The bag, plastic bag, still on 2 sides, and on 2 sides it's got evidence tape that are initialed. If someone else needs to take this out, they will cut it, take it out, and then they'll seal it with evidence tape. And if you open it up more than 4 times, then you can put it in another plastic bag, and you start the whole process over again. So very rarely, and I'm not sure, I'm jumping around topics because every time I start talking, something else comes up, oh yeah, I remember this. So very rarely did I get evidence and go, hey, evidence tech, hey, TV crew, hey, I'm going to hand you this evidence. Okay, it's going from me to you. Okay, here's a log. It just, look, if there is a weak point in evidence, it's probably chain of custody. And most cops will check that. And I don't know what these cops did. This started with the cops lying on grand jury. We didn't know it was okay to lie on a police report, and evidently they were lying about when they booked the evidence. I'm not sure that's a lie. I talked about in the first part about material lie or did it affect the case. So, and I've done this before. We've worked, we've got 5 or 6 targets, we hit them, and we end up seizing guns, dope, knives, whatever we get at different places. And when we seize it, we don't stop at the first place and go book all the evidence because it tears up the team. You got 5 to 7 guys, we're working as a team, we got to be able to cover the outside, the inside, the inter team, everybody. So we just take turns on who's the case agent, because the case agent is the one responsible for all the evidence to do the paperwork. Everybody has to give that guy a supplement. He puts the whole case together and he becomes a case agent. So each house would have a different case agent. But sometimes, if we're working with CHP, they wouldn't want to be the case agent if it was drugs or whatever. So, either me or the sheriff, SAC PD, they didn't really do much, but we would take the cases. So I take one, then the SAC sheriff take one, then I take the next one, then the SAC sheriff take the next. So sometimes, by the end of the day, we may have 3 to 4 cases pending. And we may have evidence in all 3 or 4 of those cases. We didn't stop each time and go book that evidence. We threw it in our trunk of our car, we locked the trunk. Now, could a defense attorney say, "Officer, when that drugs was in your trunk, how do you know somebody didn't come in your trunk, take it, and contaminate it?" I don't know that. I know when I put it in my trunk, when I went back and got it, it was there. I know I have the key. I know the trunk wasn't pried open. I didn't see any forced entry. The car was in a place to where they probably had videotaped. There were a lot of cops running around. Usually when people see cops running around, they don't go in cop cars. Matter of fact, I don't know of any case ever in history where somebody broke into a cop car without them knowing and took some of the dope and left. If they take some of the dope, they're going to take all the dope. Why would they want to go in a car and contaminate it and put real dope when it wasn't real? I mean, look, could it happen? Sure. Do I think it happened? No. Is it an argument? Is it something that a lawyer can throw smoke and mirrors on a wall and maybe it sticks with one dumbass juror? Yeah, it can. But look, I'm telling you, cops are not... again, I've ridden around with evidence in my car lots of times. Not for days. Usually I book the next day. Sometimes, if I had just a little bit of coke or a few heroin, balls of tar heroin or something, and I would leave it if it was a 4-day weekend and I got it on a Friday and I didn't go back to work till Tuesday, it would sit in my car all through the weekend. And Tuesday when I went in, I book it in evidence. Is that a break in chain of custody? In my book, the way the lawyer what I saw him explaining, I think he would think that was a break in custody. Maybe he doesn't. Is it the best way to secure it? Maybe not. It's still under lock and key, and it's still under my care, custody, and control, and no one else has access to my trunk, and the trunk wasn't broken into. Now, if somebody breaks into the trunk and they steal it, is my case going to go? No. They're not going to convict this guy because I got drugs stolen out of my trunk on a 3-day weekend that I had in my trunk. So, would we charge? No. So, is the chain of custody there? Yes. So, chain of custody is one of those things. Now, sometimes, not often, if I was a case agent at the next case, and somehow I seized evidence on this case, and I found it, and the case agent's over here, and some dude walked, because, this happens sometimes. We're at a house, we're searching, we always shut the door. We don't have marked units out front because we're waiting for other dummies to come knock on the door. So sometimes, while we're in there searching, some dumbass at a drug house will come up, either want to buy drugs or whatever. So before we open the door, we go, "Yo, what's up? Yo, man, I'm looking for some crank, man. You got any? Or I'm looking for some meth, or I need speedball, I need that, whatever." And so they would ask, and we'd be like, that's a clue. This guy might be a criminal. He's here to buy something. How much you need? Man, I just need a quarter. Okay, come on in. We open the door, and as soon as he sees the cops, it's like, and we grab him. Snatch, pull him in the house, throw him against the wall, shut the door, pat him down, hook him up, say, "Yo, man, you're a drug addict, you just said you were trying to buy." We search him. If he's got guns or drugs or a crack pipe or something, we arrest him. So sometimes that would happen on an incident. So the case agent wouldn't want to get tied down with this dude. So if I was the guy that opened the door, snatched and grabbed him, and then I found evidence on him, that would be my evidence and my case. I would pull a separate case number. While doing a parole search at this address, Mr. Dumbass showed up, tried to buy dope. I opened the door, he verbally said it, I opened the door, I snagged him. When I patted him down, I found that he had a lot of money, I found that he had a crack pipe, I found that he had residue of heroin in a plastic bag that he had in his shoe, and then I'd arrest him for that. Now, I would put all that evidence in a bag, and we carried these big plastic bags, and we carried small Ziploc bags. So if I got evidence, I would put my cocaine in the smallest bag, and I would Ziploc it. And I would drop that in a bigger plastic bag. Because in a big plastic bag, it was big enough to where I could slide my report, I could slide my arrest document. When I book him in jail and I do the arrest PC and I got the document and he goes to jail, I get my copy. So I would slide that in there, and that day that would tell me later when I have like 7 of these, and there was nights when, we had 7 or 8 of these suckers, you pull out all these bags, you don't know which one's which, and sometimes you get in a pursuit or you freaking just drive fast because you're tired or whatever. You get back there and your shit's kind of flown out and you got shit all over the floor. You're like, fuck! So you're finding this shit, you're like, shit, oh yeah, this dude with the cocaine, oh yeah, I think he had this knife. And sometimes, I mean, shit, when I turned in my cars, there would be 15 or 20 knives throughout the trunk, falling in crevices, whatever. Because, well, a lot of times when I pull knives off people, yo man, this is illegal, is this your knife? They would always say, no, that's not my knife, man. Well, it was in your pocket. Yeah, man, but I just found it. I just picked it up off the street. You can have it. I don't want it. So instead of booking a guy for an illegal life and doing some bullshit arrest on this dude, I throw the knife in the trunk, say, get out of here. I'll see you later. You owe me one. And then that way, if I ran into him again, hey, aren't you the guy I let go with that knife? Yo, man, hook me up. I'm looking for so-and-so. Oh, yeah, I heard he's hanging out with so-and-so, but they got guns or whatever. So that's how you develop informants. You give them breaks. So I would have so many freaking knives and bats and different shanks and shit in a pack of lunch. They'd pull it out, they'd be cleaning out the car, turn it and go, they'd come with a big bag of shit and go, shit, Rick, look at all this shit that was in your trunk. I'm like, I don't know what the hell it is. Go throw it in a fucking dumpster. I'll throw it away. They go, no man, I don't want to throw it away. I don't know if it's evidence. That's your shit. And I'd be like, okay, I will throw it in the dumpster. So, and they'd be like, don't throw it in the dumpster out front. Somebody will find it. So I drive the freaking back of Safeway or whatever and throw that shit in the freaking dumpster. Rick, that's illegal. You're a bootleg. I'm just telling you reality, people, how it works out there. So I don't know how the hell I got on that subject, but I'm trying to tell you that evidence is not so much like it is on TV. Should it be? Maybe. I mean, I had a big problem with our evidence locker at the DA's office. I told you that one story where the DA found a freaking shotgun in the back of his closet that he pulled out of the evidence locker, that he never signed it out because attorneys think they're too freaking important to sign shit out. So they're always going in there, and I need this for trial. So they'll pull out evidence. They won't sign it out because they're running late because I'm so busy. I'm such an important motherfucker as an attorney that I don't have time to do all these freaking little signing things. I should have an assistant to do all that shit. So they go in the evidence locker, they grab fucking evidence for court, and they run, and then the court gets continued, so they throw it in their freaking briefcase, and then when we go in there later to get it because some cop is testifying, it's like, hey man, I think I remember I seized this, but I don't remember what the gun looked like. Okay, we'll go in there and try to find it. We go in the evidence locker, it's fucking gone. I'm like, where the fuck's the motherfucking gun? So you go to the DA as part of the case and, dude, our fucking gun's gone. I just went to go do it. And he's like, oh shit, you know what, here, it's in my desk. I stuck it in my briefcase because I thought I was going to court, we had a hearing, and I never put it back. Here you go. And he hands it back to me. You think that shit's going on the evidence sheet? You think if the defense attorney knew that shit was going on, that they would say there's a chain of custody? Now, was anybody doing illegal shit? Was the DA changing bullets? Was he marking up the barrel to... I mean, was there this big conspiracy? No, it's just typical incompetent government, bureaucracy, bullshit, getting in a hurry, getting lazy, and shit fucking happens. So, I mean, look, I'm telling you the way it is. Now, there's going to be somebody at some small department to where they have, one case a year and they book evidence twice a year, and they're going to come here and go, we never do that in our agency. We have strict protocols and we follow it to the T, and you must have been about... Dude, I'm telling you, I've worked with so many freaking agencies, federal, state, local. Everybody is the freaking same. There is no freaking wonderful, perfect that follows all the freaking chain of custody shit. Now, dude, in reality, have I ever presented evidence that I think in any way, shape, or form was tampered, or that I had to lie, or that I did something that I couldn't say I did? Absolutely not. If I left the shit in a trunk and I was asked, Rick, that's lying. Well, I'm not going to go in there. You don't go in and volunteer shit. They're going to throw up enough shit at you. Hell, some of the times I wouldn't even remember if I left it in my trunk for the weekend. You know, we work Friday and we're supposed to get off at, 2 in the morning, and we end up getting in a pursuit, and there's a wreck, and there's medical, and we got all this shit, and we have to go do. So, at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm dead freaking tired. I throw evidence in the back of my thing, and then the next morning I go in and book it. Am I going to put on there on the evidence sheet, because it was late and it was tired, I left the evidence in my trunk for 4 hours before I booked it in. So, no, I'm going to put in there, I seized it at this time, and at the time I turned it in, it was this time. I'm not lying. I'm not leaving something out intentionally, nefariously, trying to create some freaking conspiracy and trap somebody and get somebody innocent thrown. Look, the last thing I wanted, I felt bad even when I got somebody I knew was guilty. And I was kind of like, man, even though they're guilty, I kind of felt bad on this case that he got convicted and he went to jail. I was kind of hoping he got off, even though I knew he was guilty. I don't want some freaking innocent person going to jail or prison with my freaking fingerprints on it. So, somebody's going to come here and go, dude, I can't believe it. A DA would put evidence in their drawer. They put it in their briefcase, in their drawer, in their car. Like I said, the case got dismissed because we lost the freaking shotgun, and when the DA retired, he finally cleaned out a closet that was a freaking clusterfuck with all kind of shit in it. And they're like, where's his shotgun? They're like, oh shit, they ran a number. Oh, that was that case we had to dismiss because we couldn't find it. Yeah, that's justice. Yeah, the government's competent. Oh yeah, DAs are freaking great. You let a dude who used a fucking shotgun on somebody get away because you lost it in your freaking closet. But I digress. Anyway, evidence. Is it critical? Look, you want to make sure that anytime evidence is transferred. Now, if I have cocaine, and I've done this before, I've had someone, like I was talking about, that guy coming in the door and I snatched him and I found dope on him. Instead of giving that to the case agent and saying, dude, this dude walked in. A lazy cop would do that. Hey man, this ain't my case, but I snagged this dude and I found this dope. Here you go. I'd be like, no, fuck you. You caught it, you clean it. Don't be coming here doing shit. I didn't ask you to answer the door. I didn't ask you to grab me in. You freaking started that mess. You deal with it. That's your case, not mine. So that's what I would do if somebody tried to pawn it, unless it was CHP, because I know they were incompetent, they'd fuck it up, so then I would take it. But anyway, I have taken evidence and said, dude, you're going back to evidence now? Would you toss this in an evidence locker? And maybe that's illegal, not illegal, maybe that's not the best chain of custody. If I did that, I would seal it, evidence taken, I would do everything as if I was going to put it in a locker. But because of whatever, I'd give it to my partner who was sealed, and he was going to the evidence locker, and I was going to another case or we were on a different side of the highway, or it was going to take me an hour to drive back. Sacramento's what, 950 square miles to work from one side. It may take you 45 minutes to go to the other side, depending on where we were booking or where the shit was going on. And then I lived an hour west towards San Francisco, so it took me an hour to get home after I got off. So it was like, dude, you're going back there. I don't want to drive an hour there and then drive 2 hours home. Even though I would have got paid for overtime, I was just like, dude, I'm ready to go. Drop this in an evidence locker for me. So I talked about the big mailbox being an evidence locker. Another system that we had was like the old school lockers. And we had, kind of like when you go to a post office for the post office box. They got the little post office box, they got the medium, and they got the large. Some places had that set up for evidence. And then it had keys. And once you pulled the key out, the thing couldn't be opened. So you would go in there, I've got evidence, I stick it in locker 13, I lock it, I pull out key 13, and I drop it in a lockbox that the evidence tech will get in the morning. And then his chain of custody is, in the morning I opened the evidence box and I found keys 13, 12, and 11. When I opened locker 13, there was evidence from Gore, a bag of cocaine, heroin, gun, whatever the hell it was. So it'd be like, okay, and I booked that into evidence. And then he would write it in, he would log it in, he would assign it to however to do it. Some do it by case number, some do it by year, month, some do it by shift. There's all different ways on how they do the evidence room, and it would be there. So when somebody came back later and goes, hey man, I need case so-and-so, I need to pull the dope out, I need to get the gun out, I didn't check, whatever. I didn't take a picture of the barrel, or the DA wants me to see how many bullets were fired and not fired because I didn't put it in the report or whatever. So I would have to go pull it. I'd go back to the evidence and go, hey man, I need this out. The evidence tech would go get it and be like, on this date and time, Detective Gore came in, signed out this evidence. I would sign taking possession of the evidence. I would snap my picture, do whatever I needed to do. I would hand it back to him. I would seal it, initial it, and it would go back. He'd write in a log, blah, blah, blah. So then when we went to court, the defense attorney would want a chain of custody of this. And he would know. When this evidence was taken, it was put in locker 13. This evidence tech took it and logged it in the evidence room. It stayed in the evidence room until this day when Gore signed it out. Gore signed it out, gave it back to the evidence room, and it stayed in there until the DA got it, or Gore went and got it for the DA for this court trial. And that would be what's called a chain of custody. We know where this has been every time. Now, me having my buddy go drop this in here, when I was talking about that, it'd be like, dude, man, I got this. Throw this in an evidence locker for me. So, he takes these two things, he goes in, he pulls out key 12, puts his shit in there, pulls out key 12 in his report. He goes, I booked evidence in locker 12 and I dropped it in there. In my report, he'll call me and go, yo man, I put your shit in locker 13. In my report, I'll be like, evidence was seized, blah, blah, and placed in locker 13. Now, did I say I placed it in 13? No, I said it was put in 13, and it was. Is that lying? Am I trying to mislead? Am I trying to hide that maybe this cop did something to my head? I mean, look. Is it as clean as it should be? No, I agree. Evidence should be important evidence. To me, a bag of dope is not the end of the freaking world. I don't care if it's heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, whatever the hell, puka, hookah, luka, whatever they're using bath salts now. Whatever. To me, it's not the end of the freaking world. Now, if it's drugs that tie someone to a freaking murder, now I got issues if I'm doing that. But on high profile, where you're looking at serious cases, evidence is handled different than what I call poo-butt, run-of-the-mill, I got a freaking stolen gun from this dude on the street, big freaking deal. Now that gun could turn out to be used in a shooting or whatever, but my chain of custody is not going to affect whether or not later they connect this gun in Joe Blow's hand that shot John Doe. It's not going to matter that. So, in a case where you know it's critical or it could go critical, you need to be careful with your evidence. But most times, look, evidence is fucked around with the DA. And like I said, in our office, our evidence room, like, everybody had the freaking combination. That's not good. For the DA's office, I just thought it freaking sucked. Everybody had the combination to the freaking door. So when you needed something, the way it was supposed to go, you're supposed to go to a supervisor, and only supervisors could sign out evidence. So if you took anything out, the supervisor would be there. But a lot of times, supervisors were like, yo, dude, what are you doing? He goes, man, I'm busy. What you got? I go, dude, I got to get something out of the evidence locker. He goes, man, just punch the code in. Go get it. Go, don't pull out. What are you going to do? I said, I just need to check and count the bullets or something. All right, go fucking do it. So I go over there, punch in the code, go in, count the bullets, be done, walk out. And it'd be like, okay, cool, no harm, no foul. Technically, there should be a log, either with a key card or that you sign in or videotape that shows everybody that went in. Because when I went in there and counted bullets, I could have snagged this evidence and took it, and in that case it would be disarmed. If I was on the take and I had access to everybody's evidence, dude comes up to me and goes, dude, man, I'll drop $5 grand in your account. If you can pull this case number, all I need is a fucking cocaine to disappear. If I was crooked, I go in the evidence locker, hey man, I gotta go count my bullets case, all right, go in there. Then I grab the cocaine, I stick it in my pocket, I go outside and throw it out. And I tell the dude, yo man, cocaine's gone. So the defense goes, we want to see the cocaine. And the defense attorney goes, oh, we can't find it. You can't find it, case dismissed. So that's the problem when you don't control it. That's why on TV they always show this perfect setup to where it's behind cages and there's one guy locked in there and you have to come up and there's a big log and there's this big exchange. It's something like that. It's not as elaborate as TV, but basically, look, you have to say where evidence has been. As long as it's in government's custody, you better know where it's been, who touched it, what they did with it, how long they had it, who handled it, who didn't, where was it safeguarded, was it kept in a place to where it couldn't be tampered with, etc. That's the importance of chain of custody. Now, did these guys lie in the report when they said, I booked the evidence into evidence, and then they put it in their trunk, and they didn't book it till 3 days later? Did they lie? Look, man, I'm not going to get into that. I mean, technically, yes, if you want to live in a perfect world where cops are held to an unmeasurable standard to where, you know, you just want to use them as a scapegoat for our broken freaking criminal justice system, whatever. Great. Yeah, the cop, yeah, he should have booked it the second he got it. He should have dropped everything, because in a perfect world, you know, you seize evidence and then the whole world stops. And I am the king of the world, and I have evidence. And I must go book it before anything else happens. I don't care if there's shootings. I don't care if there's pursuits, officers yelling help. I don't care if somebody cuts me off, pulls a gun on me. Everything stops because I have evidence. And I must get it to the booking place and hand it over to somebody for the chain of custody. Man, look, murder cases, yeah, you don't fuck around with that shit, because they're going to question everything, and it better be locked. And I remember telling this one story where the gun that was used to shoot a CHP officer, I was out with a search team, and our team ended up finding it was on the side of the road there. Well, nobody wanted to take the paper, and they're like, all right. I said, I'll fucking take it, whatever. So I took the gun to custody and everything. So I had to testify at the trial, because that was the chain of custody of the gun. Where did you find the gun? I said, well, we were on this date, it was this date and time, we're walking northbound, eastbound, blah, blah, blah. And one of the volunteers that was there walked up on it and said, I think I've got a gun. We went over there, we described the gun, we marked it off with tape, we took pictures, measured it, we know exactly where it was at, we marked a tree, it was so many feet from this tree, etc. And then I seized it, I put it in a bag. When I took it in the bag, I turned it into the evidence locker, blah, blah, blah. And so that was my part of handling that gun. But I had to testify to that. Why? Because when I testify, it's under oath. 2, because I handle it, the defense gets a chance to question me. And in that trial, the defense comes up with well, you said in your report that you found it on the side of the road in some dirt. Oh, was it granite? Was it limestone? What? And I looked at him like he had 2 freaking heads, and I went, you know what? I just call it dirt. I don't know what it was. And the jury started busting up laughing, and the DA wasn't paying attention like usual. He's writing down, and he hears the jury laughing, and he's like, what the hell just happened? And he's got this stunned look on his face, and I'm up there kind of like, man, he asked a dumbass question. I gave him an answer. And so the jury laughed, and because the jury laughed, the defense attorney didn't want to attack me. Had they not laughed, he might have come back, well, officer, isn't it your job to know? Don't you think this is important, officer? My client's in jail for his life, fighting for his life, and you're just blowing this off like it's just dirt? Really? Shit, my camera just went out. All right, shit. Well, shit, the battery went out, and I guess it was still recording, but anyway, I was finishing up. Because the jury laughed, the attorney really couldn't attack me, because then he would have looked like a jerk. So he kind of just played it off like, oh yeah, that was kind of a stupid question, I'll just end it there. And he didn't ask me any other questions. Had the jury not laughed, you know, he would have probably attacked me a little bit more and tried to make my comment seem sarcastic when it really wasn't. Guy asked me, hey, you know, what kind of dirt was it? I don't freaking know. You know, did you take a sample? No. Why not? Because it wasn't important. But what was important, that the gun where we found it is where we found it. Nobody touched it. Nobody tampered with it. And from the point that we saw it, nobody touched it but me. I placed it in the evidence, and I turned it in the evidence locker. That's what's important. And that's exactly what I would have told him on the stand. And he'd have been like, shit, I don't want to ask the guy any more questions. He's making me look stupid. So anyway, we'll end that there on chain of custody evidence. I know it went long, but, you know, I kind of felt like this is such a misunderstood topic that I would give you some kind of real world shit on it. All right, we'll end that there.